The NBA is the highest level of basketball in all the world, but it wouldn't be anything without the Trailblazers before it.
That's right, Rich. At a time when basketball was segregated, there was the Black Fives era, an era of all-black basketball teams who made the game what it is today.
And today, Fan Nation is recognizing the groundbreaking teams from Pittsburgh who contributed to changing the game of basketball forever.
I discovered there were dozens of African American basketball teams that emerged and thrived, from the early 1900s all the way through to the founding of the NBA in 1949. So how come people don't know about this?
With little representation of black basketball being available, author and founder of the Black Fives Foundation, Claude Johnson, knew the ball was in his court.
Our mission is to research, preserve, showcase, teach, and honor the pre-NBA history of African Americans in basketball. Basketball at first really was a wellness tool in black communities. In 1904, a man named Edwin Henderson introduced the game of basketball to the segregated public school system of Washington, D.C. So he's credited with introducing the game on a wide-scale organized basis for the first time.
From there, it didn't take long for the game to spread nationally.
It turns out, actually, that Pittsburgh, and especially Homestead, was basketball crazy. The reason why African Americans took to basketball in this city is that at the time, after the 1892 Homestead Steel Strike, where the Amalgamated Union lost, it was good news for African Americans because they had previously prohibited blacks from joining. And many of them started coming to Pittsburgh because 1892, all of a sudden you had lots and lots of black laborers that could be employed now. Pittsburgh was this amazing hub. It was pretty easy once they got started with basketball, and that was thanks to a man named Cumberland Posey Jr. And Cumberland Posey wanted to form this team, so he got these guys together, and one of the guys he got together was a man named James Dorsey, Big Jim Dorsey. And Big Jim was a janitor at a facility on the north side called the Phipps Physical Culture School, but it was whites only. But Jim Dorsey had the key because he was the janitor. So he would let his buddies in, and eventually when they unveiled the team, which was the Monticello Athletic Association, nobody had ever heard of them. And Cumberland Posey was so brash that he invited the black national champion, which was Howard University, to come to Pittsburgh.
What soon followed was an upset no one saw coming.
And that's what really put black basketball, put Pittsburgh on the map. After that, everyone wanted to come to Pittsburgh to play his team. At the same time as the Monticellos, there was also the Scholastic Athletic Association, managed by a man named Hunter Johnson, who was the athletic trainer at Pitt, and he would get all these great players who were, within that same boundary, but not at the elite level as the Monticellos.
With the Monticellos and Scholastics both providing to be two of Pittsburgh's best Black Fives clubs, it wasn't long until they both formed into one super team, led by Cumberland Posey himself.
Eventually he formed a team that was sponsored by that Low-End Social and Literary Club, which was actually co-founded by his father. He got players like Clarence Fats Jenkins out of New York City to come play. Fats Jenkins is now in the Basketball Hall of Fame. He got these two brothers from New Jersey, Ulysses Young and his brother William Young. His nickname was Pimp Young. If you look at the way they were described by contemporary newspapers, they were considered the best of the best. The way they won was ruggedness, grit, ingenuity. They would psych out their opponent by the way they warmed up. They would warm up where everyone would just shoot from half court and be making these shots, and the opponent would be like, wait, what's about to happen to us? Another tactic they used was to actually pretend that they were totally no good. Couldn't even make layups, couldn't shoot the ball, couldn't dribble, to make the opponent seem, maybe they were overconfident. He won 4 straight, what they called the Colored Basketball World's Championship.
And if it wasn't for the success of Pittsburgh Black Five teams,
well, the NBA wouldn't exist. right? Because the popularity of basketball wouldn't have grown, which then prepped really the engine for when the NBA finally was formed in 1949, because they had to have people who already were willing to come see that level of talent. And that helped make basketball better.
Coming up, the first African American to be drafted in the NBA was from right here in the 412. Next on Fan Nation, presented by JP Roofing.